And we stayed down at Fremont, I think, to 1932 or money.
Moved up
we
there?
moved up to 82nd in 1932.
Was there a house on that lot, or?
You see here what happened. Larson I had saved my money, and Randi had some money, and Larson needed some money out of there at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So we lent him about all the money we had. And he was kind of up to them too, he was having trouble to collect. And it was an outfit. We had built some houses for Professor Tory and Dean.
Mm-hmm.
It was they were property taxes, what they call themselves. And of course, Lars had done a lot of work for them, and they couldn't pay it all. And Tory and Dean owned almost all of the property from Fremont and back to the gravel pit and up to Rocky Butte.
Mm-hmm. From 82nd all the way back.
All the way from 82nd.
Yeah.
It was Tory and Dean owned that. So and they owned Larson money, and Larson owned me money. So he says, well, oh yes, I didn't tell you about that auction, did I?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I heard that they roosted the golf links. They had built a new clubhouse.
Yeah.
And of course, they had this old clubhouse down there. You see, it was more or less, it was a crummy place. But that is, of course, the house that we had on 82nd.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I heard that auction was going to be on, I went down there to, bid on it. Because I figured if I did get the bid, I would tear it down and use the material and start to build a small house up there on 82nd.
Mm-hmm.
So, I came down at an auction, and of course, it started bidding $5 enough, So, and I got the bid for $24.50, I think it was on it.
For the clubhouse?
For the clubhouse,
yeah.
So, just as I got that bid, then it was a house mover, Leibach. He walked up to me and so he said, where are you going to move it to? So I said, no, I'm not going to move it. I'm just going to tear it down. Oh, I had some other property. In the meantime, before this 82nd deal, I had bought 2 or 3 lots on 73rd.
And
between Sandy and Kingsford. And I was going to tear this down and build a little house on one of those lots.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this lead back after I got the bid, like I said, he says, you step in my car and I'm going to see if I can move it down to this place. So I got in his car and then this 73rd Street was too narrow, so we couldn't get the house through there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so in the meantime, I was working for Larson anyway, so I was telling him about this. Well, he says, well, that's no problem. He says, I can get you lots up on 82nd. He says, because, like I said, Tory and Dean own him money, and they had all of that property. So that's how I happened to get lots where I did.
So you got several lots up there on 82nd?
Yes, I think I got 3 lots from Larson there because I know I paid $200 a piece for them.
Yeah.
But of course he owed me money.
Yeah. And then, well, you got some of those lots on 83rd too. Was that all together?
No, I bought those later on.
Oh, you bought those later?
Yeah, I bought those later on.
Okay.
I think I had 3 lots on 83rd.
Yeah, but first of all, you just bought 3 lots on 82nd.
Yeah, that's right.
Or he gave them to you.
Yeah, well,
for what he owed you?
Well, I bought them, but he owed me money. I didn't have to pay him any money.
Yeah.
See?
Okay.
So that's how it happened. And this Rebecca started on that house moving. He wanted $325, I think, to begin with.
To move the clubhouse from the golf course up to 82nd.
Yeah. And he was worried about that hill there, by the gravel pit lot, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I saw him there, I was so carried down, and he kept coming down. So finally he got down to $80, I think, 85 I believe it was, for removing it. He said, finally said, well, he says, I'm feeding all of my folks-in-law and everybody in the family. Listen, I might as well give the son of a bitch something to do for everybody. Exactly what he said. And it took them, I think it was between 3 and 4 days to move it.
Yeah.
And you know,
did they go up that steep hill?
They almost lost it in that hill by the school up there now.
Yeah.
But anyway, they got it in on the lot, and in the meantime, I had made the arrangements with Liebeck. I said, I got to have your cribbing to keep it up. Very true, I can afford to buy form lumber and get concrete and basement, because I want the basement in it. So I had the basement dug before we moved the house.
Oh.
And then he put it on this cribbing.
Is that those things that hold
yeah,
up
that's 6 by 6 is, you know, and you're building it up. Mm-hmm. So it's all set up right where it had been digging. So I don't know how long I kept that cribbing there. It was a long time because I had to buy form lumber and then of course get concrete. And I remember I had Star, a concrete company, to pour concrete for me. And I bought material, they poured it for 50 cents a yard. Just imagine.
What does it cost now?
Well, it's I don't know. I hate to guess, but I'm sure that it's probably you can't have that much.
Yeah.
And we had it on the cribbing. And a couple of days ago, I looked at what it cost me, and I think it was $640 the lot and the house. And all of the stuff that I had there, then I had this set on the cribbing. Mm-hmm. So of course I took my time on putting in the forms and stuff because I had it dug out. See? So also as soon as I got enough money, of course, then I had started to put this concrete walls around the place. Mm-hmm. And I looked that up a few days ago, and that's what it cost me, as I was telling you.
Yeah. Well, that house was only a shell, wasn't it? Wasn't it just 2 rooms when you moved it up there? Or one big room?
Well, I think it was one partition in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Or some crumbly little partition there. And there was a crumbly thing to all of it. But of course, after I got that on the cribbing, then of course I started to build the form so I could get a foundation and drop it down on the foundation. That took me quite a while, but because we were in no hurry, we were comfortable.
You weren't living in it then, were you?
Well, I moved in there as soon as I got the house there, and I got the stove in, and it was a chimney in it, and that was hanging this house.
You mean you moved in there before you dropped it down on the foundation?
Yes. Sure. Like I said, it was between $500 and $600 only spent on it, whole work, see. Of course, I remember so well, Brynhild and Barney came up one day, short while after we had moved in on it. And you know, do you remember singing?
No.
Well, anyway, she was kind of said exactly what she was thinking. She says, can you make a house out of this?
Yeah.
And she come in there. But I fixed it up, and of course it was rough floors. You know, they had been using this golf shoes, you know, and the floors was all screwed up. And of course, there was a lot of work to do. But as I got money, I would just go ahead and fix it up. And then by the time we got it fixed up, it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So you see, eventually kept working with Lars until I got the German papers.
Mm-hmm.
And I did work on later on too. But then in I don't know, it must have been about in 1928, I believe, or probably 29. I got working in for Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, I don't remember the first job I worked on, but it might have been Paramount Theater, which they tore down just a short while ago.
Yeah. Because
that would be about 50 years. So I got in pretty good there with Hoffman. And then of course, when the job ran out, then I got working for Hammond. And of course I got acquainted with this foreman and the superintendent on this outfit. And it didn't seem like I had any trouble at all. If one of them didn't have work, the other one had it. So I was very lucky. And that was fact, the first foreman job I had, of all things, was on the dam. And I never seen a dam before.
What dam was it?
That was the Kirchman Dam up in Washington, up on the peninsula there on what we call that area, where you turn to the left in Olympia.
Is that Ocean Shores out that way?
Yeah, back in through, but it was quite a ways out.
Yeah.
Kirchman Dam was anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a foreman job now. Hockenhus was the superintendent, and of course I knew him then, so that's why I got it. And I worked down there for about, it must have been 3 months. And then I got a terrific backache. And the matter of fact, when I got there, it hit me when I was working down on the dam there. You know, there's a big canyon down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to crawl up to the bunkhouses or up on the hillside. And I had to crawl down, hands and knees.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened so that General Superintendent for Hoffman came up, I guess, the next day. So he said, well, I'll either take you to the hospital in Tacoma or take you back to Portland. Because he was coming up there just to see what was going on, So that's how I came, then I came back home.
Came to Portland, huh?
Yeah, we lived on Fremont then.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember that Randi made a remark, Frank Sunder didn't have a very good reputation for being a gentleman, or, he was a rough.
Who was that?
This superintendent for Hoffman.
Okay.
And when he took me home, he came into our house, and sat down, and I think he had a cup of coffee. So Randi said when he left, he says, I thought he was a very nice guy, that fellow. He probably was a nice guy, but was rough on the house.
Mm-hmm.
So then after I got well again, then I think I got working on the Christian Science Church.
The one off of Grand Avenue?
No, that was on the west side.
Oh.
And of course, Carl Nelson was superintendent on that. And worked on Paramount, and of course then I worked on this commercial job from there on up to you see, the depression came.
What year was?
Well, it started to feel it in 31, and of course in 32 it started to get pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
And but I had gotten in with Hoffman and Hammond, and if anybody had work, they would have it. And I really stayed pretty busy all the time. But then it got real bad. So they didn't have any work either. Of course, they probably had a little bit of work, but they had all of the foremen and the superintendents and all of the fellows, so they had, of course, came before the regular carpenters. But I started to, I probably laid around a little bit. I always had something to do at home to fix up our house.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to comb this mortgage company, you know, all of these mortgage companies downtown, you know, Dearshorn Mortgage, Norris Bates and Simpson, and then there were several, three of them that know that I got acquainted with.
Mm-hmm.
I know one outfit had been building up that area up in Park Road. You know, there must be about 200 houses to get up there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the people stayed there as long as they could in this house. They bought them on the contract, and they stayed there as long as they could, you know, before they finally got thrown out.
Yeah.
And I would used to go to the mortgage companies downtown and see if they had a job for me. There was three of them in particular. Well, so then I remember they will say, well, you go out and see. I remember I went up in Parkwood set them up. And you check on this house, gave me the numbers on this house, to check on it, see what it looked like. Well, it was broken doors and windows and all kinds of stuff. And I got so I can get in on most any of them, even if they were supposed to be locked. You know, have all kinds of gadgets to open up windows and doors with.
But they had to go in there and fix up the houses so they could resell them again?
Well, if they were going to be able to rent them again, you see, because there was a crummy one. So I kept up with that for a while, you know. I managed to get enough work that I could survive. And I think that then I believed, it must have been, I don't remember when I started to build up on the 82nd there. But I built 3 or 4 houses up there, I think, on the lot.
You built 3 houses.
I finally had 7 lots up there eventually. Mm-hmm. I know.
You built the Joneses' house?
The Joneses and
Shelton?
Well, I built built 3 on the 82nd.
Yeah. The Joneses, the Sheltons, and then the Reynolds, who lived right next door to us.
That's right. And then I think I sold that once I had on 83rd.
Yeah, but that was quite a few years later, I think.
Right.
Because we used to play back there in that field.
That's right. So, let me get my... eventually I got to the point where I got some fairly good yields from these mortgage companies, and I got in with Norris Bates and Simpson. They were having a lot of property to take care of. Mm-hmm. And so...
Was this during the Depression now?
Yeah, this was during the Depression. Mm-hmm. So then I fooled around with this, and then as I built those houses, then I got known enough that I could get a house to build somewhere else too. And I remember I built one in Dunkirk for that jeweler, Jensen. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember. And I looked at the cost on that. It was $4,200. And I think Jensen told me they got somewhat in between $30,000 and $40,000 now, then they moved on to LC.
Yeah. Oh, he's the same guy that moved to LC.
That's the guy, yeah. Mm-hmm. And of course I built some houses somewhere else too. But anyway, I was getting some real good remodeling jobs too over town, for this outfit. And I was doing fairly good, at least by 1937, I was kind of more or less getting on too, so that I had a few dollars to work on too, and this too. Mm-hmm. This was very important. And then we went to Norway in 1937. Mm-hmm. And
had Gloria along.
Gloria went along, yeah. And I think that
you drove across the country.
We had driven across the country 3 times, back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I think I bought a new car. Yeah, a new Studebaker, and drove to then I think we took the Midler out, that's right, in the Midler out there. We had been going to 3 different places. We went up through Idaho and up in there. Mm-hmm. A very interesting trip, and we took they took enough time. You would go driving pretty hard, but they took enough time that we could see some of the country there on this trip there. And it was really fun, and it was real nice for Gloria too, because I guess she never had another opportunity, I don't think.
Yeah. What boat did you take over? You took the boat from New York.
I think it was Bergen's George.
Uh-huh. And what?
I think it was Bergen's George when they took it.
Oh, yeah. What month did you go in?
God, I have all of that in my journal.
You remember how long you stayed over there?
No, I don't. I should have had that diary.
Yeah.
Randi can probably remember. I'm sorry. We left in April.
Yeah.
And we drove up through Columbia River Highway and then just into Idaho and back up in there. And we more or less, we were not rushing too much, but we made it out thinking about 8 days. This stopping here and there. And, that is the year, that time, that we went into Minneapolis. And that was quite a trip. It was really, really fun. We had no trouble. I think that I had my car was used, I think. And we had no trouble on the trip at all. And I remember we got into Minneapolis. And I remember I stopped on the filling station right before we got into town. And it was somebody Norwegian to Minneapolis. And when we stopped on this filling station, I went into to the telephone booth and looked at the phone book and see if it was any Otness there. And it was, there must have been a dozen or 15 Otnesses there in that. So Randi was sitting out in the car and was filling gas. So I thought, well, I'm just going to start calling from the beginning, from the first Otness. And so I called two, and I called the third one. So I tell her the same story as the Randi. Well, my name is Otness. I'm a driving through the country. I'm going back to the home country for a visit. And I'm just wondering if this is any relation of mine, because it's supposed to be quite a few of my relations that came here 1 or 2 generations ago. So the third one was a girl that answered, the lady answered the phone. So I kept her on the phone a little while. So I said, did you ever heard anything about an Otness? There was the light heavyweight wrestling champion of the United States. He led out of Warhoop. He says he is my husband's granddad. And he says he lived with us.
Oh, really? And you knew him?
I didn't know. All I knew about him was that Uncle lived in when he came back to Norway to stay. He was telling about this lightweight champion. And she says, you have to come up and see us. So I said, all right, I'll do that, but I'm going to hunt up the fellow here first. I had the name of a fellow from Övre Rendalen. I knew his brothers. Then I was going to go and see him, Sletten, I think was his name. So we went over to this Sletten, and then I told him about it. Well, hey, that is very far up to there. So he says, we get in the car and we drive up there. And here we met old Pete Otness. And he was just around, and he says, I can see you are Otness. It's just in it. And I had a real nice chat. But he was 80-some, I think, at that time. And really something I heard much about it. My uncle Lidling was telling about it. Was interest about being a champion, American champion, and like. So, and you see, we met some other people from my home place there in Minneapolis that time too, but I don't remember who they were now. Of course, we had no trouble at all. Then we got into New York, and we just about drove right down to Otness Edland, Randi's brother, which I've been bothering a lot of times how they managed to do it without making any real mistake in town, because it is quite a
pretty big place, isn't
yeah,
it?
it is. So we stayed there. I must have been at least almost to before the boat was leaving, I think, because and we got acquainted with a lot of, people from around Hinna, Stavanger, there. And then at first we got on the boat. We had that ball all the time. It really was nice. And coming back to Norway, it was, I had my car with me too. And it was a real nice weather in Norway, and of course you're driving. Generally you have ice and snow, almost to May roads, but it was real good. And of course, being that it was the first time I'd been over there, we really, you hadn't gotten too far away from all of your friends and families. They were all there.
Yeah.
So there hadn't been more than 9 years. No, always before that, 7. Oh yeah, it was more than that. But anyway, you were still pretty well acquainted back there. Of course, the family, the kids had grown up, in those years. It was quite a lot of difference, of course. But I guess it had been born on the 13 years, I guess. That's since I was 10. So. But it was nice, almost all of my old cronies was around, and of course my sisters and brothers had grown up, and it was a lot of activity and lots of fun. And of course mother and dad was living, and granddad, of course, he had passed away by that time. I think those houses there on the 82nd, didn't they?
Yeah.
So.
You got back to the United States in November
That's right.
of 37.
I said 37. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, by that time, I was, by the time when I left, I was fairly well established. I got into this, I had started to get into this meatpacking plant and cold storage work before I left in 27. And when I come back, I had no problem. I got the house right away, and from there on, it was really, it was an easy go, but at least I could put in a lot of hours but I could accomplish something. I got jobs of the size that you can make a living on, a fairly good living. So when I look at my books, every year you had more valuable business all the time. So, and of course, I had, and I got to the point where I was doing a lot of cold storage work and packing house work, meat packing plant. So it was most of this, I didn't have to tie myself onto a contract. Some of them, they say, you go ahead and do it cost plus. Cost was 10. And that, of course, is a lot easier, you are not taking any gamble. Neither are the ones that you're working for as far as that goes. However, it all depends on if they feel that you're honest in your dealings, which I don't think there was any question about any of my customers. They were satisfied with that. And you see, I got into the fruit cold storage deal quite a lot. And then, of course, eventually we got into this tilt-up, because that was kind of I think I had done some tilt-up work. Well, I don't know either before I left Norway in 37. But anyway, from there on, most of the bigger cold storage jobs, well, I think the first big one I done was growers, grass and berry growers. I think that was the first big one. But I know that I built another office and warehouse for shipment this primary sheet metal in Portland before I then started on the cold storage tilt-up job. But then I was doing a tilt-up job around the Portland area, down to Eugene, and up in Hood River, Pasco, the Umatilla, and up in there. So they have quite a few real good jobs through the years then. And not too much competition because I've done both construction and installation on it. So then you can work up a reputation that you know what you are doing, at least you hope. And then of course it helps to be honest in your dealing. And I think that probably the majority of those jobs was I got it down cost price. Of course it is not a risk to it. Of course not, I wasn't worried too much about that because I had cost figures from the second year I was in this country on work to be done. So I knew how many hours it would take, more or less. Of course, you can go wrong on that too, but I'm pretty sure you are not so far away when you have it out there. You know, you see that before I had my office in the basement at home. Then, of course, it got very crowded and I got more work and I had to have some help in the office. So then I bought a piece of property down in Kingsford on 42nd, I guess. No,
74.
74, yeah. I bought a piece of property down there and built a warehouse and an office down there. Because I had to have, I had one fellow to help me in the office there most of the time, I guess. And of course, by that time, I was getting pretty busy on estimating and you know, keeping track of what was going to be done and what had been done.
Yeah.
Well, I did like to get a cabin somewhere because I like fishing and then and hunting. And of course, I was doing a cold storage job for J. Lawrence Company, a fish plant. And this Lawrence, he was always out, you know, almost every weekend we would go fishing. And we go different places. And I was working at his place, and I had told him whenever we were out scouting it out somewhere, fishing and such, I told him that I get so done tired out sometimes, and I would like to have a place to go to where I can hide myself and doing a little fishing and such on the river or on the lake, or but I do like to be close to the water. So he was something we looked out for that. And this Lawrence, he was a gentleman businessman. And he never got to the office before 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And of course, we had the office help anyway. And one Monday morning, I remember, I came driving in. That was in Fort and close to Burnside on the west side. And here, by gosh, he was there when I came pulling in there. It must have been about 7:45 or so. Here he was standing on the corner Monday morning. And then I parked my car and he come trotting over to the car. All excited. He said, Erik, he says, I have found the most wonderful place for you. So he started to tell me about it. And he was so enthused about this, you know, it's just terrific. So he started to tell me about it. We went into the office and he started to tell me about this place. It was on the Elsie River, right on the river. And he says, the nice thing about it is that you can steal it, but you got to play your cards right. Here is what you do. So he started to tell me, this fellow that had this place, he was a big operator in the big motors and such, electric motors, and a big deal. And of course, he had been playing so big and probably had a business reverses for all I know. But anyway, he had started to build this place on LC. Then I would say that probably 3-4 years before this Ernest was telling me this. He told me all about it. That this guy, he hasn't got the money to finish it up, and he's in trouble with the people down there because he owned the electric company down there and the telephone company down there, and of course they finally chased him out of the valley.
Why did they do that?
Huh?
Why did they chase them out?
Because he had been cheating people. They're selling stock to the people, and they never got anything out of it.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And of course this Okis, they are not easy to deal with if you fool them. So he said they chased him out of the valley. The first time they just told him he came driving in there, and the fellows were still working on the cabin then. And then he came down, and then somebody said, you better stay out of the valley. So he came down. They had threatened him that they were going to beat him up. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they let him go. And then 2 weeks later, he came back down. So then some of this bully of the valley, they met up and drug him out of the car and wrapped him up. So he never went back down again. And of course, he knocked off the fellows, not to work anymore. Of course, I don't know if you remember what it looked like when they first got it. And he says he can't sell it, because it looks so bad, because the rats had taken over, and he says that the fishermen had been knocking out the windows and everything, and he says, now what else what you do? You go to this fella and ask him, offer him as little as you dare to, without being thrown out. Just anything, just so he gets his hands on some money, he's going to take you within reason. So he had got me all schooled on how to go about this, I would have been a sucker if it hadn't been for him. So I called him on the telephone. Lawrence had his telephone number and everything. No, his telephone was taken out. He couldn't pay for his telephone. So Lawrence had the telephone number of his mother. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I got in touch with him. So he says, you come down and we will talk about it. So I did that. He told me where it is, and down here I seen a Cadillac standing in the driveway, and I thought I must be on the wrong spot. But that was the place, all right. So I come then with a bull story about, I needed that place to rest and all that. I was so tired and worn out and straight up.
Is this when you came driving up in your crumbing car?
Oh, yeah. I looked poor and I weren't out there either, but anyway. So I told them I got, that's what I had. It was 425 because I know the 25 was in there.
Well,
and of course, when I kind of offered him this, he just couldn't think of it. I said, well, that's all the money I have. I sure would do me a favor to let me have it for that, because I think I could get back to health again if I could, anyway, I couldn't get him.
How much did he want?
Well, he didn't want to quote me anything because it just was so ridiculous, this hair. So I just walked out of there. Because Lawrence said they accused me. I knew I was going to get it anyway for some kind of money. So it was a couple of weeks, and then he called me. So he says, well, why don't you come down here and we will see what we can do? So I said, no, it's not much use to come down because that's all the money I got. And I'm not going to go in I'm not in the condition to go in the debt because I have a hard enough time now without buying this. Well, you come down. Well, that's no use that I can come down anyway and gamble a little. So of course, I just sat down there and I bought it for that.
Yeah.
And of course, I remember so well when they went down there before I bought it. Magne, it was right before Magne went into the army. Magne and I went down there.
This was 1942 now.
No.
Right.
And I knew as soon as I seen the place, I knew I was going to buy it. But it was a messy place. You know, over where the kitchen is now, it was kind of a panel out up there. So, and the balcony, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And back in that corner, it was red droppings, you know, with a couple of inches thick. You know, it's just terrible.
All the windows knocked out.
All windows knocked out,
Yeah.
and everything looked tough. But it wasn't. It looked a lot worse, and it really was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it didn't take too much. Of course, done a lot of work since. But it was, you know, that was a deal. In fact, that's the nicest buy I ever did in my life, I think.
He came back later on, didn't he, and wanted to buy
Yeah,
it?
he wanted to buy it. He wouldn't have enough money to buy it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So, no, that was nice. And I had more places out of that place than anything I spent money on, I think.
I can remember the balcony upstairs,
With that
and I can remember,
rustic railing.
yeah, and I remember those terrible stairs going up.
Yeah, they were just, you know, some of them was 6 inches, some of them 12.
Oh, they were terrible.
Yeah.
And I remember when you brought logs in, those great big long logs, and you brought them through that window by the garage and put them up on the roof there?
I had forgotten that.
That you just shoved them through that window there and brought them in that way.
Then I put the floor all over upstairs, and then finally finished it down below in with some beautiful 1x6. It isn't, I think it is one now in those 1x6 tongue and groove stuff in the ceiling. Really nice and rustic.
Yeah. Let's say you finished that not so many years ago, about, what, 10 years ago?
Oh, it must be more than that. No, it may not be.
I don't think so.
That would sure make a nice deal in it.
Got running water in there? We used to have to go down to the river to
running water and then
to wash.
Like this, yeah.
Yeah.
And no, it really is comfortable.
It's really not like a cabin anymore. It's almost like a house.
Well, they couldn't buy it from me for the house price anyway. No, that's you know, I wouldn't care. I would sell it for if somebody come and said, I'll give you 50,000 for it, I would not have to sell it. But I mean, it wouldn't be against my grain even then.
Yeah.
Because if you don't need it.